Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 702 for the 26th of January. Frontline changes report. We start off with the biggest, I think will be the most shocking one, is actually at the Bakhmut Front. So this is the Bakhmut city, and this is the famous, infamous Bakhmut city and or Wagner land. At Ivanivske, just on the southwestern part of Bakhmut, there is this massive claim by this based on the report coming from Ryba, the pro-Russian source. The Russian forces apparently have made a massive capture in this area here, capturing the entire of this tree line. This is of course not acknowledged by any other sources on the Ukrainian side just yet, but this is shocking. Pro-Russian sources starting to talk about this advance towards Ivanivske, and basically, if this is true, particularly over in the northern part of this capture, we are talking about the Russians reaching the outskirt of Ivanivske, and this is basically yet another of this front line that is pushing towards a settlement and on the verge of entering it. So this is massive change. And the next one is over, of course, in the Avdiivka Front. So this Avdiivka city, if you do not know where is it, Avdiivka city is here. Just now we were here, and over in the northern part of Donetsk city, in the southern part of Avdiivka city, the Russian claims now have extended. So the Russian forces basically have closed up this entire salient that the Ukrainians previously had over in this area here. This is a massively fortified region, and if I go to Google Earth, you probably will see it better. And this entire area is also part of the forest and the high ground. And if you look at this satellite imaging, you can see that there is entrenchment all over the place. There's a lot of trenches all around the place. You can see all these dirt roads, probably signifying a movement of armored vehicles in this area here. And this entire area, like I mentioned before, if the Russians make this push and they are attacking from the from this vineyard region, and with the pressure coming from this area here, I say that the Ukrainians will have to redraw. And if this Russian claim is true, then we are actually saying that whatever I said has came true, that it is not defendable to be here, because you can't reinforce or resupply or send food over to this front line for your frontline troops, because there's no way to reach there unless you're going to brave FPV drones or snipers and whatnot, and it's just not viable. A Ukrainian withdrawal makes a lot of sense, or it could be the case where the Ukrainian forces in this area here surrendered, as per the Russian side like to claim. And the geographical interest about this area is that you see this is the high ground, and this actually leads down to the low ground, and so from this position, the Russian forces can hold this position, taking control of this area here, and they are definitely fighting down this slope. They are moving southward to control all the way through these few buildings and of course the trees around here. You can see in this area here, this is the point, this is the objective, I think, for the Russians. They are trying to take over this forest and these buildings so that they can have fire control over these buildings around this area here, and which will provide them very good defensive positions. So this is the significant thing, the second most significant frontline change over in the Avdiivka front. The Ukrainian forces are counter-attacking, and the Russian side, in the Russian mapping, have conceded that they definitely have no control over this area here because of the Ukrainian attack, which was geolocated to attack into this area here, which is where the gray zone is between the two maps, the Russian and Ukrainian map overlapping. The Russian side, the Russian mappers definitely showed that they have no confidence that the Russians have this control. So the Ukrainians have actually retaken some ground, but these are very on the outskirts, totally overshadowed by whatever Russian control or capture they have in this area here. So we're moving back to this mapping. So this is the Avdiivka Front, and then we have another frontline change is over at Sjeverne, just west of this frontline change over in the south of Avdiivka. In the Sjeverne region, there is a geolocation of Ukrainian forces getting hit by FPV drones, just south southwest of Sjeverne, and with Ukrainians over here, this will have to be considered as a Ukrainian capture or invalidation of the Russian claims. So at least the Ukrainians will have this position, at least this tree line or at this T junction, at this area over here. So far, this is definitely the front line with overlapping mapping shows that this is actually a very gray zone. So troops positioning or defending this front line position is less likely because you are going to be the prime target in this area here. So that's all from the front line changes. So I have done a poll on the DPA War channel as well as on the Telegram, and regarding whether the frontline changes report should be a separate thing on its own, totally from the SITREP, or it should be combined or whatnot. And the voting result is very messed up. It's too close, so I have no idea what to do. And another thing about the SITREP is that or the reporting is that I do not know if I should show my face. So the last SITREP I didn't show my face, and I have no idea how does it affect you. Do you want to see me see more my facial expression or me rubbing my nose? I'm not sure. So you can also comment below, let me know what is your preference, because yeah, I really don't know what attracts people to stay, what attracts people to not stay, so I'm not sure. So we move on. Moving into the strategic and tactical report. So this is where we go from frontline to frontline to report on the real SITREP. This is how the military reports usually go. Of course, they go into much more details, and but we're not doing here. So over at the Kharkiv Front, we have a geolocation of a video of Russian airstrike over at Kupyansk. And Kupyansk is this major strategically important city, and the Russians airstrike it again. So this is a continuation of the Russian harassment of Ukrainian forces around the border of Kharkiv. So we will continue to monitor to see how this goes. We move into the Kupyansk Front. At the Kupyansk Front, this is Kupyansk city, this is Kupyansk Front. At the Kupyansk Front, the Russian forces continue to be attacking at Sinkivka as well as at Avdiivka. So this is the situation right now. We have no report from the Russian side saying that the Ukrainians are counterattacking at Sinkivka. This is a break away from tradition that we always see a clash in terms of reporting. Both sides claiming that they are the defenders. This time around, we don't have this. And there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces at Ivanivske, which the Ukrainians attack at Ivanivske. We do not know. This is actually not reported in our reporting because the last attack of the Ukrainians at the Ivanivska region is on the 7th and the 8th. So not sure if this is dated or is just reports that was not being reported. And then there is also a geolocation of airstrike on Ukrainian forces at Avdiivka. And you probably may think right now that the Russians are having airstrikes a little bit too easy. And it is true. The Russians are starting to have air supremacy, or at least air superiority in the entire of the Ukraine war, to the point where they can now drop airstrike almost at will. The amount of air defense system the Ukraine seems to have is dropping. So we shall continue to monitor and see how this goes. So we move into the Svatove Front. This is Svatove and this is Svatove Front. The Russian forces continue their offensive operations, and this time around there is some slight increase over at Ivanivske, Semerkivka, as well as in the Novovodyan region, with geolocation of the Novovodyan one, where the Russian forces got hit by Ukrainian UAV. So this is the situation over at the Svatove Front, and I will try not to zoom in too much into the front line. Let's see how this goes, because you may not be interested in that, so may not be necessary. So I will try to be more strategic in the reporting. Of course, let me know in the comments what you think. And of course, if you watch to this point, it's 9 minutes, you are part of the DPA army for sure, 100%. I know. So if not, people don't usually stay until this long. So because I see the statistics, I know what is it. And of course, only people who are in the DPA army like to hear me talk cock, sing song, play mahjong. And over at Kreminna Front, so this is Kreminna city and this is Kreminna Front. The strategic situation over at Kreminna remains similar, but there is no Ukrainian attack reporting. The main reason is because there is no Russian daily report today. They did every Saturday or at least Friday, I'm not sure which day is it considered. I'm on Saturday right now. The Russians will do a sum up of the whole week. And because they do a summary of the whole week, I cannot use their report because I'm reporting on a daily basis. So anyway, the Russians attack in the at Terny, Torske, and within the Siversk forestry and going down towards Kharkiv. This arrow is missed. So in this area here, there is geolocation of Russian forces attacking at Dibrova. This is probably referring to the 24th attack. So we shall see how this goes. And the Russians continue to put pressure. Tentatively, the initiative at the Kreminna Front is on the Russian side. We move into the Siversk Front. So this is, let me move up a bit. This is Siversk city, and this is the Siversk Front. At the Siversk Front, the Russian forces continue their assault on Bilohorivka. And we have geolocation at the Bilohorivka region in the north of this industrial zone area where the Russian forces get hit by Ukrainian drones. This confirms that the Russians indeed have control over this industrial area here. And so this is one of those places that is always being fought over. So if you have been following, you probably will know. Otherwise, the rest of the front line, there's no change. There is Lancet attacks within Siversk city itself, hitting artillery, a self-propelled artillery, and there is also another Lancet hitting yet another self-propelled artillery over just off Riznikivka. So Lancers are also now operating in this area here. And if you have been following the SITREP over the past 2 months, you'll probably notice the number of Lancet attacks that is being geolocated is insane. And like I always say, whatever we see on the internet, of course, if someone wants us to see it. But also the another case is that whatever we are seeing on the internet, the video, the photos, is only a small fraction of everything that's happening over in the front lines in the war, which means that, let's say we are only seeing 10%, which is a huge number in terms of the actions happening over in Ukraine on a daily basis. The Lancet attacks, imagine 10 times more. There will be a massive amount of Lancets that is being operated in the front line, and this is crazy if you really think about it. So of course, we do not know, or maybe the Russians are really, very hardworking and they publish every single Lancet attack, which is, I doubt so, because it takes resources to show videos, and maybe some videos are just boring. Some details are a bit too clear, because too clear is it will show operational secrets. So you do not want to show footages and photos that is too clear, which is also why every single stupid video that we see is always so blur, because they cannot let the enemy know how good is their camera. So that is actually top secret information. We move into Bakhmut Front. This is Bakhmut city and this is Bakhmut Front. At the Bakhmut Front, we have geolocation of Ukrainian forces getting hit by FPV drone off Vasilkivka. So that they are there for sure. And over at the northern flank, we have continued attack over at Bodanivka. And an interesting thing to note, yesterday I mentioned that the Russian forces are not in the center of Bodanivka due to a geolocation that was reported yesterday, which I think maybe half of you may not have seen it because the views was rather low. Not rather, very low. So the Ukrainians are geolocated here. In this position, there's definitely more on the northern side than on the center. And this today we have Ryba confirming that the Russian forces have withdrawn from the center of Bodanivka. But they're still holding positions in the northwestern part of this town. They're claiming that the Russian forces have withdrawn, and I would say take it with a pinch of salt, because there's a possibility that they were never in the center. There is a possibility, so that's why take it with a pinch of salt. And of course, and then we have, of course, the big change is the Russian attack over at Ivanivske. I already talked about this, so nothing more to really add on. Geolocation of artillery shelling of Ukrainian forces at this position, and this actually is very interesting, because if the Russians are using artillery system at this position, which means that the Ukrainian forces have actually recaptured the cemetery region. This is most likely the case. This entire cemetery is most likely under Ukrainian control again. As I mentioned in my joke, which a lot of people didn't see, yeah, they are trading the cemetery, you know, taking turns to use it. So the Ukrainian forces is definitely have control. Just that I cannot change the mapping just yet, because of course I have certain principles on how to change it. So at least for now, because the principle do change over time based on the information that I can get, but we shall see. And of course we have another geolocation by Crimean caprice of Russian forces just on the eastern part of Bakhmut, and this confirms that the Russians are indeed over this position, so our front line is actually accurate. We move into the southern part of the Bakhmut Front. In this area here, situation remains the same as usual. The Russians are attacking Klishchiivka, Andriivka, and Kodyomivka. So there's no change in terms of this situation at the southern part. We move into Niu-York Front. There's no more reports of Ukrainian attacking at Sumy. If you missed the report yesterday, Ukrainians were attacking at Sumy region. We move into the Avdiivka Front. So this is one of the other very intense, probably the most intense frontline operation, the Russian assault operation in this area here. Fighting is reported at Novobakhmutivka region, towards Badaichi and Stepove in the north, between the coke plant, around the coke plant region near the Dacha, over at Kayamka region or south of Vasily, in the south of Avdiivka, over at Opitne, and in Vodian region, probably the most western part of Vodian, at Povomayske and Nevelske. So you can see from the number of arrows, the situation at Avdiivka is extremely volatile and very, very intense for the Ukrainians. The Russians are attacking in all directions almost, and other than the geolocation of Ukrainian forces getting hit at Sjeverne, which probably there is not an assault, they are just occupying non-occupied regions. This is rather significant. There is also geolocation of Russian forces just south of Vasily. So sorry, click the wrong button. So this is Vasily, in case you do not know, this is Vasily, and the Russian forces is geolocated to be attacking in this direction, and but this attack, this geolocation does not change the front line, because the Russian attack actually failed. So I did not change the front line for this. So the Russians are in this area here. Just now I want to talk about a bit more here. They are attacking within this Dacha region, this village or holiday house region near the coke plant, and they are also attacking between the this Dacha region and Kayamka. So this is the two actions they are attacking from the north, and this definitely to put pressure to relieve the Russian forces that is under severe pressure in the south, because in the southern part of Avdiivka, the Ukrainians are throwing a lot at the Russian forces in all directions in this area, because they cannot afford to lose this southern part, and the Russian forces basically have taken the good defensive position around this area here. So the Ukrainians claims that the Russians don't even have this restaurant position just yet, where they actually launched a surprise attack from the rear through the tunnel system. The tunnel system is actually just a drainage, massive drainage pipe. So the Ukrainians some Ukrainian sources still claim that the Ukrainians have position at this area. I don't believe it. I think it makes zero sense, because if the Russians are fighting around this area here, you are surrounded for sure, 100%, because the Russian forces basically can attack in two directions in a pincer. It is unlikely, but of course the Ukrainians continue to claim that this is the case, and this is massively reflected in a massive contradiction, because now the Russians claim that they have advanced this entire area, almost straightening the front line all along the hill regions. So this is extremely interesting, which is why probably why Deep State UA in their reporting keeps saying that it's very weird. The southern front is very weird, and I'm not sure. It's not very weird to me. It's very weird to them. So I think they are struggling to accept the loss of ground, so massive loss of ground. So they are coping in a way. It's a coping mechanism, because to lose this much ground in the most heavily fortified and defended region is unimaginable. So, and losing this area here means a very clear path into the city itself, which is probably way less fortified. So this is actually important to note. And away from the Avdiivka Front, we move into the Donetsk Front. So this is Donetsk City, and this is Donetsk Front. And for those that are new to this channel, you may wonder why the Donetsk is so big, and why the front is so small. Because Avdiivka Front and Bakhmut Front is the part of the Donetsk Front, but just for simplicity, is split away as separate front lines so that it's easier to understand. So this is the remaining part of the Donetsk Front that is left. And for those that are new to this channel and they are still watching, kudos to you. And so we go to the eastern half of the Donetsk Front. The Russian forces are attacking at Georgievka, Poyeda, and over at Novomikhailivka. The Ukrainians are counter-attacking over at Novomikhailivka. So this is the situation over at this eastern part. Not much changes. There's no frontline changes, so you probably already know that there's no frontline changes in this area here. We move over on the western part of this front line. The Russian forces is continuing their attack over at Zolota Neva, and there is reports from the Ukrainians OSIN that there is fighting in the region of Novodonetsk. I'm not sure if they are talking about the same thing. They could be talking about the same thing. This attack at Zolota Neva has been extending for quite a few days already. We have 12, 17, 2 probing attacks. Then the Russians started this offensive operation after the 2 scouting or probing mission. So now they have the actual assault from 24th to 26th. It's been 3 days, and usually Russian assault don't last more than a week. If it's just a limited assault. So we will continue to monitor and see how this goes. This is getting more and more serious as more days piled up on their assault operation. It from my point of view, it is actually getting more and more serious. So we move on into the Zaporizhzhia Front. So this is Zaporizhzhia city, and this is the Zaporizhzhia Front. For those that don't understand why this is called the whole Zaporizhzhia Front, because it is a part of the Zaporizhzhia Oblast, and also this I used to call this the Zaporizhzhia line because it is a massive defense line that never there's no fighting happening. The Russians just hold a line there, and this line has become a front because the Ukrainians started the counteroffensive in the Zaporizhzhia line. And so we go on to the first part is the Velika Novosilka sector. At this Velika Novosilka, at this sector over here, the Russians are attacking in the north of Prioni, Ukrainians attacking south of Rivnopil. So it is very close to each other. So we will continue to monitor to see how this progress. There is always this sporadic attacks. The Russian attack at Staromayoske is already no more. There is no more reports of fighting at Staromayoske. We move away from Velika Novosilka sector into the Huyaipole sector. This is this Huyaipole or Huyaipole. I do not know how to pronounce it. The Russians have resumed their attack at Sjeverne again, and this time round you can see that the Russian attack on the 8th, 14, 23, 26 is a constant on and off probing attack in this area here, and there is geolocation of Russian FPV drones in action against Ukrainian forces at Sjeverne. So definitely because the Russians now have come out with a way of conducting drone infantry hybrid warfare. So they can do infantry assault with the support of FPV drones, and I believe the Ukrainians are also developing similar actions, but the Russians seems to have done this pretty well from video footages that we have seen. So the appearance of FPV drone might also suggest the presence of some Russian infantry, since it's being reported to be attacking by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry themselves. So we move away from the Huyaipole into the Orikhiv sector. So this is the Orikhiv sector. This Orikhiv, this for those that do not know or have not been following closely, this is also where the Ukrainians launched a counter offensive, and this is actually the part where they managed to capture basically this bowl here. So this bowl, they put porridge inside, they put some water, put some rice, you put it, close it, put some pressure, heat it for like 15 minutes, you will get rice. But of course, this rice has been rotting because the Russians are attacking at Robotine and the western part of Verbove. I'm not sure it's like this or is it like this. So in this area here, the Russian attack at Nestyanka did not happen anymore. Interestingly, there's not being reported. But the pressure on the Ukrainians over at Robotine and Verbove continues, and this never move this pincer never moves, so it's just pressure. It's not an assault, so they are just putting pressure. They are doing positional warfare, because the lack of frontline changes just shows that the Russians are deliberately creating a kill zone in that area here. So yeah, but the thing is, the Ukrainians have a very hard decision, because even if you know that this is a kill zone, if you do not hold the line, if you do not send in reinforcement and replacement to the front line to replace their fallen troops or evacuate the wounded, and you leave no frontline troops there, the Russians will just overtake it. The Russians will send in the infantry and the assault and armored vehicles and just take over the empty positions. Because once they monitor for a few days and they realize the Ukrainians are not coming, they're going to take the ground. And so the Ukrainians are caught in this left is wrong, right is wrong, both sides is wrong. There's no right thing. There's almost no right ways to do it. If you want to hold the front line, you have to send in reinforcement, and the reinforcement will die. And if you don't send in reinforcement, the Russians will progress, and then the front line will come to you. You still die. So this is very, very terrible. But this is war for you. There's nothing over at the Kreminna sector. The Russian attack over at Svatove is not reported again, so it's just a probing attack. So that's all from the Zaporizhzhia Front. We move into the Kherson Front. So this is the Kherson Front, and this is the Kherson city. So in the Kherson Front, the Ukrainian forces continue to have their position at Kharkiv, with the Ukrainian Defense Ministry continue to use this cryptic reporting style of saying that the Russians have not give up their intention to dislodge their troops from the bridgeheads in the left bank, which is the southern bank of the Dnieper River, and that's it. And you can read it in whichever you can. I will always draw it as Kharkiv, but there are actually other beachhead or bridgehead over in the Dnieper River, southern part of the Dnieper River. The Ukrainians have a beachhead over at Kharkiv. There is a massive beachhead or bridgehead over at south of Dnipropetrovsk, as well as at Dachi. So there is actually 3 different locations, and this one look like a butt, and yeah, unrelated. But this is it could be the Russians attacking in this area here, or it could be at Kharkiv. But the reality is most likely Kharkiv. The reason, because if you look at all this geolocation of drone, all these Lancet attacks and drone attacks, artillery, airstrikes, it's always surrounding Kharkiv. It's always within this zone, this 20 kilometers to 30 kilometers radius from Kharkiv. It's always been like this. Almost all the geolocations are there. Almost all. So, which is why the attention must be at Kharkiv and not the other front lines. But anyway, there is no geolocation of anything over at Kherson Front, which is interesting, which means that the fighting here has died down, or the Ukrainians are running out of steam. But of course, this is just one day. It's too early to say. We will monitor a few days. If for a week things continue to be more quiet, then I think the situation is indeed under control for the Russians. So that's all from the Kherson Front, and yeah, and that's it. This is the summary, the SITREP of the day of 702 for the 26th of January. Do press the like button, subscribe. Views are shit, revenues are low, I'm in depression. Also, no, spare me some likes, and I'll see you guys in the next update.